Right, welcome everybody to Gloves Off with Deshi Back Tower, and with me today another goalkeeper, a much better one than I would ever have dreamed of being, Brian Baloyi. Brian, I gotta say you look really well. I'm so pleased, and I believe you're gonna tell us about a whole new sport.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here and to catch up with you. And when I talk to people about some of the people not, that I used to look up to, and not only that, but people that really helped me through my career. People that at some point that coached me. I talk about you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It doesn't happen too often.
yeah. Yes, I'm very excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to let everybody know, when Brian played for the national team, I was the goalkeeping coach, and that's where our relationship really grew. But currently, Brian, what exactly are you doing?
Currently, I am an entrepreneur. Run my own business. I decided to walk away from the game professionally. I run a soccer coaching company. Coach kids um, around. It's a growing business. It's called Challenger Sports SA. It's a global company. I bought the license for South Africa.
Brilliant.
We At the moment we are in Alex. We have about 50 kids in Alex. We are in Hyde Park. Then our biggest facilities at the moment is in Nelspruit. We have over 600 kids in Nelspruit. And then in Rustenburg, we are in 2 schools in rural. At the moment, our business we've been concentrating more on rural communities and townships. That's where we've been concentrating. But from next year, we are launching the business into the urban areas and franchising the business.
That's brilliant, Brian. I tell you what, especially in today's times where you hear so many bad stories about former football greats, it's absolutely brilliant that you've gone that route. But I've got to ask you one question that everybody keeps asking me: the state of our football currently, and what do we need to do?
The state of football currently, obviously, we can do better. I believe there's a lot of things that really that are contributing to why things are like this. We haven't controlled, and I always say to people, I've got most of my best friends is people that came from they came to play football in South Africa, coming from Zimbabwe, Nigeria, all over the continent. Have nothing against having foreigners in our league, um, but it has to be controlled in some form. And at the moment, it's just out of control. When you look in the first division and the lower leagues, there's no control over, and most of them, a lot of them are neutralized. And then you find as well that teams are not giving enough of these young boys and young talent that we have an opportunity. Um, so those are some of the problems. Um, but I believe the biggest problem for me is in coaching education. I believe we need to um, uh, have more coaches, um, qualified coaches coaching kids, more especially at grassroots level. Um, and um, but like I said, I think there's a lot of things that are contributing to to the way things are. Um, right now, the biggest challenge we have in goalkeeping in the country, um, and you look at the top teams in the PSL, almost all the top 5, 6 teams they play with foreign goalkeepers, and then even I think more than 50% of the clubs, and so the last generation that we have right now of Kune, Keat, once it fades out, I believe we're gonna have a big problem. Have we done enough in terms of developing the goalkeepers? I don't think so. Um, I'm next year myself. I'm studying a goalkeeping school as well, um, exactly to address the same issue. For me, I think, I mean, I about 4 years ago, I went back into professional football, into coaching, became a goalkeeper coach. I wanted to really equip myself and get more education in terms of goalkeeping, goalkeeper coaching. There was nothing available. We only did one training, goalkeeper training course, and nothing came after that. I even tried to look up, overseas in Europe, in America, and I found a whole lot of, goalkeeping seminars,
Yeah.
goalkeeping conferences. I wanted to go. My club didn't wanted to go. Kaizer Chiefs didn't want to pay for it for me to go.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got to tell you, Brian, the English FA run a goalkeeping course, which I attended 3, 4 years ago. And the amazing thing is how it's developed, where even color is so important. I remember in one of my lectures, the guy talking about color, the color of the ball, the color of what you wear, whether it be night or day. I mean, those are things like 3, 4 years ago,
yeah.
and I don't see it happening yet. So I agree entirely with you. I think the coaching aspect of our football is a massive problem.
Yeah. And and we have a lot of former players that really are going into coaching. I think the biggest challenge and the biggest problem, I think, is that from the first division going down, from when you go to the third division, the Motsepe League, um, for me, I believe coaches are not, there's coaches that are not paid, that are volunteering, going down. So when you go into amateur football, you go into, so you get people that are just coaching because of they're just passionate about the game, but it does not put bread on the table.
Yeah.
So they are doing it part time. Someone is coaching and then he's doing something else.
Yeah.
So until we have coaching as well at those level, being people coaching there and coaching full time, and those
Yeah.
coaching jobs, being paying jobs.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time as well that football will grow. We need to create job opportunities at amateur level, at school level. I believe we need to develop coaches that and develop relationships with schools,
Yeah.
where and working with government to get coaches to be paying jobs within schools,
Yeah.
because at the moment only private schools are able to and to pay coaches in any sport. And when you look at football, in private schools, football is a by the way. It's not really a sport that they take serious. Some schools are beginning to really take it serious. We've got some of our brothers coaching in these private schools. But when you look at the public schools, I think that's where we need to, develop
grow. Yeah.
and grow. And we need SAFA to be working hand in hand with government to make sure that these coaching jobs within these public schools are paying jobs.
Talking about SAFA, I get a lot of questions again about you were very much part of the national setup for a couple of years.
Yeah.
From 96, our national team has basically just gone downwards and backwards.
Yeah.
In fact, I think you were in the last team that finished third in an African Nations Cup competition in Ghana and Nigeria, I
Yeah.
think it was. Where do you think it's gone wrong? What exactly is the problem?
Um, yeah, I think, like I said, I think there's a. I think when you look at how we got success so early as a country, just after going back into international football,
Yeah,
when you look at it, the question I ask myself and ask people: did we really plan for that success? Did we really plan to win '96? My honest opinion is no. My honest opinion is that that success that came, it came when we had that generation that was a generation that that had big personalities and and a drive and all of that. So so after that success, I think we didn't know what to do because we'd never planned for it. So that's what I believe. So um, and since then we haven't been able to come up with a plan. We always hear about all these 2020 plans or 2022, but they never bear fruits. So we really need a proper plan, and for me, I think we need a very big, bold plan that says, okay, 2020, 30, we want to win the World Cup. Then we start planning on it. We start working on it. Yeah, so that's the type of plan that we would love to see. That and that plan as well becomes public knowledge. It's not just a plan that we talk about, but nobody knows what the plan is about. And within that plan, we need the clubs to be working hand in hand with the National Association. Until that happens, we're not going to go nowhere. We're not going to achieve nothing at all.
that's I tell you what, a very sad thought it would be, particularly if you look at the natural talent we have in South Africa. But Brian, on a personal note, now, I believe you're starting a whole new sport. Tell us about this sport.
Yeah. There's a whole new sport that was developed and conceived in Hungary, Budapest, about 4 years ago. The sport is called tech ball, and tech ball is a
Tech ball.
yeah, TEQ ball,
Okay.
and the sport is just it's a fun sport, but it's highly technical, and I believe when you see the sport and when you see kids playing the sport, I believe it's an enhancer to a footballer.
No, you've just signed the rights to it for
Yeah,
South Africa.
for South Africa, yes.
That's absolutely brilliant. But here's an opportunity to tell everybody what this sport's about. Is it played on a table? Do you use your hands, head, feet?
The sport is tech ball. You play it on a table. It's a curved table, and yeah, and with that, that's why we say the world is curved. So the table is curved, and you have 3 touches. So it's almost similar to ping pong, but obviously using a soccer ball, and you can play up to 3 players per side. You can have 2v2 doubles. You can have 3v3. And one of the biggest mandates that's coming from tech ball is that we have to develop women as well. We have to get women involved in the sport, and there's a bit of it's a fun sport, but it's something that you can play with family. It's something that you can play in a sports club and be very competitive. So that's the beauty of it, and that's what I love about it, is that there's something that we'll be able to to get out there to the public, and people were able to start seeing it and playing it. And like I said, this is something that you can have in your backyard and play with your kids. And this is something that you can develop and play not only with your, with your boys. You can play with your with the girls as well.
Absolutely brilliant.
And because there's no contact, and it's just technical.
So how did you plan on growing it?
We plan on introducing the sport into schools, into sports clubs. We plan on introducing the sport into to grow the sport. And like you said, the natural talent that we have in our country. Obviously, we're gonna have to develop the sport as well in our rural communities and in our townships. So we're gonna have a big drive in developing the sport in those areas as well.
Okay.
Yep.
That's absolutely brilliant. So lots of profits you see coming from it?
Yes. There's a not only a big opportunity, but yes, I see. I think the market is ready for such such a sport, and I believe if we do it the right way, that we'll be able to see a lot good profits from it. But we plan on reinvesting back into the sport and growing the sport. We have an opportunity of hosting, knowing that South Africa is more developed than a whole lot of other African countries. The sport already, they've already started in Ghana. They've started in Nigeria already, in Morocco, Cape Verde. There's a couple of countries that have already started. Sierra Leone. They're launching Zambia next month as well. So, and obviously, we would love to host some of their big events. So we're going to be looking at hosting one of the World Championships. The sport itself has been granted the rights to be part of the Olympics. So the big drive is to try and get to get it to be officially at the Olympics 2028. And so by then we would love to have world champions coming out of South Africa, representing the sport already.
The first time I saw the tech ball thing was on an Instagram video with Ronaldinho.
Yeah, he's the main brand ambassador.
Is he?
Yeah.
There's a few more now.
There's a few more now. Yeah, there's him. There's Carlos Puyol, William Gallas. There's a couple of guys. The half of the French national team, '98 national team, they're ambassadors as well.
Perez as well.
Perez as well.
Bloody hell, I know Perez.
Yeah, he's Perez is part of the ambassadors for this thing. Yeah. Even this guy, when he this Namdev last year, he had a big event in India, in Mumbai, futsal, and he had 10 big players. Ronaldinho was there, Ryan Giggs, David James.
David James is always in India.
Yeah.
He was coach of...
one of the teams there.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a crook.
Yeah.
We played against him, and in the last minute we scored a goal. Garcia scored, but he struck the underside of the post, and the ball bounced, but it bounced inside the goal and popped out. And James stood there, just said to his right back to play on. So the guy cleared the ball and we weren't given the goal. I was fuming. I didn't like him.
Is that why celebrations are so important?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, Garcia was by himself and he turned round and started running back. The next thing, they were playing.
Was it
Yeah.
quite a good goal though that he scored? It must have been a serious goal if you, the way you're describing it is it hit the underside and then bumped over.
Yeah, yeah.
He just turned around and like.
Yeah, but it bounced inside and then came out. It was fuming.
So you still are still coaching that?
No, I haven't been back. What had happened was Atletico Madrid had a fallout with Atletico Kolkata.
Oh,
So they never went back. Then United got involved and they sent, I think, Robbie Keane, Teddy Sheringham was the coach, and they finished bottom of the league. He got fired, and Robbie Keane, I think, took over. And so, yeah, it just, and then they got some of the Spanish back involved. Yeah, so, but he was very good, Brian. I met some amazing people. Some of the guys I worked with people like Garcia, Joffre played for Barcelona, Borja Fernandez played for Real. He grew up at Real. He was there when Beckham was there as well. And the goalkeeper, one of the goalkeepers I worked with, Adel Bete, former Cameroonian, still now lives in France, Paris, and he played for PSG. And he actually won the championship for us. He made a save in the top corner in the last minute of the game. He's a big guy, but super goalkeeper.
but their players. How do they get their players? How do they?
Well, a lot of the clubs in that Indian Super League are merged with a European club. And then, like the way it was worked with Atletico Madrid, they provided the coaches and the European-based players. So each team has to have at least 6 Indian players during the game. And then you can have 5 Europeans or Brazilians, South Americans, whatever else. Yeah. And that's how it was. There were some top names that were involved in that league. Materazzi was coach at Chennai for 2 seasons, I think. Zico was coach of Goa, nice man too. And yeah, then in the second year, Roberto Carlos came as a player for Delhi and then took over their coaching. And just so many big name footballers. Peter Reid was there as coach.
I'm trying to see whether, because I know there's a couple of South African players that played there.
Yeah.
And other, African players that played in here, and then like this one, I know Fikru.
Well, Fikru played in my team.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Fikru, and then the one year there was also the wide right player played for Wits.
Yeah.
Pirates.
He just went back to Wits again now.
Yes, correct. That's right. Yeah.
It's a funny name. Was it Dudley? What?
Duty.
Duty.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So Brian, just quickly, who do you think's going to win the cup final tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I think Sundowns.
Do you?
Yeah.
Stronger squad.
Stronger squad, but I know it's not going to be an easy game. Maritzburg are always giving them problems. But I think Sundowns has got a lot of good players, and with big temperaments. They always love to play, win things, and because I know I've seen as well. Most of his big temperament players has been kind of giving them, I think they'll be fresh tomorrow because they've been given off. They haven't been playing that much. But I think Marisbeck has some of the very good players. Some of the young boys that I worked with at Kaiser Chiefs are very good players. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be really nice. I also think it's going to be. These guys have taken a smoke break. I think we can take a smoke break too. Brian, I'm so pleased to see how well you are.
Oh, enough then.
Isn't there some sad stories about footballers all over the world?
Yeah, and for me is that this. That's why when I talk to South Africans and when we are trying to come up with a solution, and I keep saying to people, this is not. It's a global problem. This is not a South African problem. So that's where we need to look at it first.
Yeah.
And then we need to look at how do we then come up with solutions for South Africa for this problem.
Yeah.
For South Africans.
So,
yeah. No, I'm busy with the Rugby Legends Association. Myself with Matthew Booth, and we've been consulting and talking to them, and so I was introduced to them by a company called Citadel. So Citadel is a financial
yes, quite a big company.
And Jean de Villiers, former Springbok captain,
it's his company. He's involved.
He's one of their brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
And he heads up their philanthropy department. Okay. So in the new year I'm gonna have more meetings with him because we're trying to see how they can help us to structure a proper organization for ourselves. But we're trying to model it around rugby. So he's introducing us to some of the key people that are at the Rugby Legends Association. So we're trying to see how we can, structure a football.
Take the good.
Footballers association, whatever, and take the good from that, and because like I say, we want to be able to look at how do we help. I think, and I was saying, the first thing that if we really want to help former players, the first two things that will be important is before helping them with reskilling them and then be able to be employable, is first starting with insurance, helping them with, so we want to see how do we then get companies. When we start the organization, we're looking at then partnering with Outsurance wants to sponsor the organization once we start it, and then so our members then will automatically have insurances. Then we then start looking at medical aid, because that's one of the things that we've never been told, and only when one does research is that they say for all of us that have played football professionally, because of the impact that you have on your body, that in your 50s going on, you're gonna have a problem with arthritis. And it's been proven, and there is research that's so we know that, and now most of the guys we know that they're struggling with their knees, and so to have all this hip replacement and all of this, it's a lot of money, so some people can't afford it. And then you have that's what I'm saying. I've been attending some of the events of they call it Expros.
Yes.
And then you have the other organization, the Some Lover, the one with Buddha Matata and all of that. so I'm saying to Denny and Buddha, but Buddha and them, they don't want. And I said, okay, we'll do it ourselves then, because I'm saying we all played football, so why do we have to have different?
Yeah.
And the other one primarily it's all white players that played in the 70s, 80s on the expos. And but I'm saying with our generation, uh, we don't want we're not interested in politics.
I don't think
We played together, you know, white,
Doesn't matter
colored,
who,
Indian.
where, what.
So we want an organization that represents everybody. We don't want an organization where, and every time for the last 3 years, I've been going to the Expros events,
Yeah.
and primarily because I'm a brand ambassador for this betting company, Hollywood Bets,
Okay.
and they sponsor those events.
Okay.
So I've been going there, and literally last year, this year now, we were in Devon at the house thing in Devon. What's it called? At Greyville.
Oh, yes.
Last year, the event was here at Tefontaine.
Definitely. Yeah.
And literally, when I was there was almost 400 people. And literally in that room, I could count, there was less than 10 black players and black Indian colored, there was less than 10. And after the event, Ronnie Slosh and Thing was there. It was Ronnie Slosh and what's his name? There was two guys from the PSL and one from SAFA, but that used to work for Vets.
Raymond Hack.
There was Raymond Heck, Ronnie Slosh, and Ronnie came to me and then he says, you know, I what I'm seeing here, I'm trying to think how do we help to change this. I said to him, yes, you're talking to me, or maybe from a point of guilt. He said, no, Brian, you know what? Please let's meet. Let's see how. Because he said to me, look, first thing is that the people that are running an organization is people like in their 70s and all. So he says the first thing they want to do is they want to have a generational mix, and then start addressing the issue of race as well within the organization. And I said, no, I'm keen. I said, okay. So we had a meeting with him with Matthew Booth, but I think the other guys that are running the organization are not thinking what he wants to do. And I don't think PSL is not really, as much as they contribute to them, but they're not, because anyway, a lot of those guys, a lot of the people and the people that are putting money into the expos, most of these guys that play, most of them, they have big companies. They, as much as they are still, you know, white players that are struggling, but most of them, they're in business. They've got big businesses. And so those are some of the challenges that we have in terms of and the other day we were sitting with Sean Bartlett and Neil Tovey, and we played golf together. And then after we were talking, and I said to them, the biggest thing we have is that if there's one place where we haven't made an impact, it's in administration. As former footballers, when you look at especially the 96 generation, I was showing them, I said the 96 generation had so much power and leverage but never used it. And most of them now, it's either they are coaches or they're on TV, but nowhere to be found in administration. And if we want to change football, we can only change it at administration, nowhere else. And we are not there. And we are not there. So really, if we want to change football for the next generation, then we're gonna have to fight to get into administration. And the biggest thing as well, I was saying, and I understand a lot with a lot of guys, and I said, and the only way you can fight is if you are doing your own business outside football, and you know you're not dependent on, there's nothing they can do. Because a lot of, if you are working within football, when you start challenging them, then they cut you off. Yeah. You can see it even with people like with Robert Marau, with a whole lot of others. A lot of others that were, can see a lot with a lot of guys that work on TV. Little stupid things, man. I mean, Jerry Scosa, when he was on TV, he used to criticize Pirates. Where is he? They cut him off. But again, with these people, I'm saying, when you have played for a club, if you still love the club and you're supporting the club, when you're criticizing because you want them to do better. But these guys, when you're criticizing them, they fight you. No, you don't like us. You criticize us. They can then it's not on TV anymore. Zain Musa, same.
He's absolutely spot on.
I'm listening to what he's saying.
He's absolutely spot on.
Wow.
Yeah. So with this, where does the thing play, and where does?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a primary channel as well as a secondary channel. All the teasers will get shown on the secondary channel, and we aim to do it twice a week, to include an analysis section and what we call a development segment, which is very much what you're talking about now. How can we fix it? And what you're saying is absolutely spot on. I had said to you guys that the moment you work within the industry, people don't talk. It's only once you're outside of it that you're free to talk. Yeah. And have I not told you this? And he's just echoed exactly what I've said. But it is an opportunity for us to try and fix it. You know, I mean, the same people have been running football for how long?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where have they gone? Where have they taken us? And how come they're still there? You know, I mean, those are questions that need to be. I get asked it all the time.
And the big question now is, so when they leave, the next generation, sorry, who's taking over? Are they, so are we still gonna have people? So I'm saying we need to have. We're not saying football should be run only by people that have played the game, but there has to be a mix. That we have to have a majority of people that have played the game running the game.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just little things. I mean, I was with Mbazo, Aaron Mukwena, a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking, and
How easy.
he's okay. He's okay.
I came across his number the other day, and I thought about him, you know, and I wondered, actually, maybe I must get him, talk to him as well.
Yeah, should. Yeah, he should.
Is he
I'm
doing
working.
something now?
He's when I was with him, we were doing a campaign with the Department of what's that department? Safety and security, and yeah, he's doing some stuff there in the Val, on the business side. He's
Okay,
yeah.
I'm pleased to hear that. Baza,
Yeah.
so solid player. Yes. I have no doubt
Yeah.
that Brian's going to be very successful with this. I know the man, I've worked with him, and the determination that he possesses will carry him through. Absolutely no doubt about that. So, Brian, let me just say thank you so much for coming round to have this chat with us, to fill us in on where you are. Everybody wants to know. People do not forget
Yeah.
as easily as you may think they do. There's a lot of things they don't. But thanks again, and it's absolutely brilliant to hear how successful you are, and I believe it's only the beginnings of your success.
Yes, only the beginning. I think if there's one thing that football has taught me to dream big and to never, limit myself. Myself and a couple of other guys, we, 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 we are, busy trying to help to restructure ourselves as former players. There are a couple of former, players organizations. One is trying to help and see how we can unify the organizations, because for as long as we have 2, 3, 4 different, organizations, we will always fight and fight for nothing. Whereas, whereas the bigger picture is we all want to see us helping to develop the sport. We all want to see us being involved in the running of the sport and making sure that the same opportunities we got when we were young boys, that many more millions of kids are still getting those opportunities. And with where world football is, I think we have no excuse of not being part of the top footballing nations in the world, not only on the continent. We need to, rebuild our football, get it back to us being one of the top African footballing nations, and competing to be part of the best footballing nations globally.
Right, on that note, Brian Baloyi, steady, don't you may hurt me. He's a big guy.
Thank you very much. It's a
Thank
pleasure. Pleasure. The thing there, I met this Jamaican guy at the tech ball thing. I was telling the guy that you were, I think was 99, when we were.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a guy from Trinidad and Tobago and stuff. So I was telling them, we were in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Bob Marley's house.
Brian and I, we were in the. There was a picture in the paper the next morning, at home, and him and I were at the gate. How crazy is that? I still remember. There was that guy sitting in the yard.
In the yard.
It was one of the whalers.
One of the whalers.
Yeah,
what was
the
his
guitarist.
Probably Bunny.
Yeah.
It was Bunny Whaler.
He was still smoking.
Still smoking. He was still.
And I remember walking in and asking to see the whole house. You know.
Remember
where
when
was
we were
his
there?
Bedroom?
But Thabo Mngomeni was in
Tabo,
heaven.
yes.
He was in heaven because he was a
Rasta man.
hardcore Rasta
Yeah,
man.
he was.
So
he was.
He was in
Super
heaven.
player as well. He was a great player. Yeah. Gee.
There's a big opportunity there, I think.
Yeah.
We've been talking to a few schools. We are in a few schools, but we've been running our program mostly in rural communities. In Nelspruit, in White River, in Rustenburg. So next year we're going into more schools in the rurals, more schools in the townships, and then we're franchising our business going into urban areas.
Yeah.
We're busy with Curo, we're busy talking to Curo for the Midrand area, for all the schools they have in the Midrand area.
What's the name of the business?
It's called Challenger Sports.
Challenger Sports.
Challenger Sports SA, yeah.
Brian, can you give us your best Deshi story?
Oh.
That's
It's so long ago, I don't think you'll remember.
She's what? Yeah, she's
which story to say? So many stories. He doesn't know which one to say.
It's just too long ago.
it's just too long ago. So like
He's that
exactly
old,
what,
right, Brian? He's like a grandfather. He is a grandfather.
he is a great already, yeah. Yeah, but with Deshi, man, like I said, when I started, that's when he was stopping, and from then on, and I was lucky that he coached me, and when he was when he was starting his coaching career at that time.
How was he as a coach? Was he hard? Was he?
Well, what you see now is what he was always the same way.
Okay.
Um,
Did he make you run in laps?
uh,
No.
No, like I said, I mean, I think with me and the guys that when he coached us, we just wanted to work, and he was, he was just, but he liked to swear a little bit, and
Yes, still does.
yeah, he liked to swear a little bit, and try to kick your butt, when you get you to work. But yeah, it was fun working with him.
What is one of the things he taught you that you carry through your goalkeeping career?
Like I said, the work ethic, because that as well, you get, I mean, I've been coached by a whole lot of other goalkeeper coaches where when the work ethic thing, when you work with someone as well, it kind of transfers. If the teacher or the coach doesn't have a work ethic, if you have it as a player, at some point you're not gonna have that, because so I mean, I worked with other coaches after, and there's times where you feel like you want to be lazy, and then that then you start not working, and because of and the coach that you have just doesn't push you enough,
Brian, when you say to Deshi, so besides yourself, Deshi, which other goalkeeper would you rate in South Africa? He always speaks about you.
Yeah,
So that's a compliment.
that's a compliment. Huh? Yeah, that is. Then
that's-
over that, I mean, he loved his work on TV. Watching him work on TV, and he was very passionate about it, and he knew his subject. Talking. I mean, today a lot of people that are today, I don't know how they employ people that work on do match analysis and all of this. Most of these people, I mean, you sit and listen, and it's people that just people that just are doing the job just because they're getting paid. People that are not interested, people that are not doing research. A lot of the guys, seriously, today, that you sit and listen, and they don't know players. They don't know players' names, but they're working.
The passion he has for football, I think that's
Yeah.
I think for life as well.
What do you think made that successful 96 team that you spoke about earlier on? Like, what made you guys a golden generation?
Like I said, I think it was more big personalities that came from. I think the work ethic and the hunger that we had then was because of where we came from as a country, from apartheid, and so you got people that have been coming out from different backgrounds, wanting to succeed, and so when you have people like that, by the time when you put people like that together, any coach coming and working with such people, it becomes easy. So that generation, I think a lot of the character in that generation was shaped by the background of where people came from, from the communities and where people grew up. And as well with that, I mean, the team, when you look at it, the team was diverse. Huh?
Yeah.
The team was diverse. We had team was diverse. We had colored Indian, whites, within the team, and worked together.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming through. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah,
Cut it
dank je.
there.
Yeah. Pressure's off now, shame.
I remember in the Trinidad and
Afrikaans,
Tobago
yeah.
squad.
Jamaica, we drew with them. Remember in the rain?
In the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
Good old days,
Yeah,
right?
good old days.
Brian's, I got to tell you, Brian's work ethic never questioned. He just worked. John Charlie was like that.
Yeah.
And just worked.
Can't say that about the youngsters nowadays, eh?
Yeah, I mean it's. I think a lot of it has to do with. I think one of the things to say. I think sometimes sports we separate sports from community,
Yeah.
and I always say it's about how your sports people in the country, how they turn out is it's a reflection of your society. And what we see in our football is a reflection of our
Yeah?
it's a reflection of our society. I say to people, this generation now, tell me of anybody, like young men that would just live here, go to New York and just start a new life and just so you need but back in the day you had a lot of people that would we get a lot of young people now getting opportunities to go in Europe. He goes there 3 months down the line, says I'm homesick. 3 months down the line they're homesick, they want to come back home.
Yeah. That's true.
It's no passion, it's all about money now.
Okay.
Such an opportunity you're getting and
I think
wasting it
possibly-
away.
Wasting
For me, the saddest story is old John Mabizela.
old John. You get a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I was with him last year in December in KZN at one of the. And just you look at him and you think of the opportunity he had. I mean, and exactly that. I mean, just now, everywhere you go in the world, when you talk to people about coming from South Africa, when you talk about football, they will mention, geez, there was that guy who played for Tottenham. What was his name?
Scored a goal in his
Scored a
first
goal. I
game.
said,
The
no.
cracker.
Yeah,
The
in
one who
first
did that
game.
goal.
That is a sad story.
35 yarder out of nowhere.
Gee, and what a player, Brian. I mean, even centre back, and boy, could he play.
Someone who could play with the ball and defend.
Correct. And in those times, it wasn't as common.
Yeah,
You know?
you didn't find it.
Yeah, so you look for players like that. But, yeah. No, it was good.
What happened to him?
Fell off the
He
system.
came back here, played
Yeah.
for.
Sundowns,
I played with him at Sundowns. Then he started moving to smaller clubs here, there. But
I
just
think,
leaving there, coming back was the end of it.
yeah.
Because from there, it's just
I think also some of his personal habits weren't conducive to the game and
Okay.
what he
And I
could
think
have
I know.
achieved.
And I think as well, with a lot of things, I think as South Africans, a lot of other things that we just, when with opportunities with sports like that, is that it's things that we don't have. It's things that we don't look at. You look at South Americans, Brazilians, and all of them. When they get with their kids when they go to Europe, you look at the support they give.
Yeah.
Because with us, the boy signs in Manchester, big club. You just sign, then you just ship him there, and
You
he'll
leave
see to it.
Yeah.
And well, there's a lot of other things. That's some of the reasons
Yeah.
why.
I know old John had his own sort of philosophy as well as to how things work.
Yeah.
And I think there were quite a few things he didn't disagree with, or he disagreed with rather. So he was, he was always a joy to watch. Absolute joy. Such a talent. Oh. Anyway.
Is that where we can wrap it there? That was cool.